Good evening and welcome to our National Organize to Win broadcast. I'm Amanda Nichols with Our Revolution, and I'm here to get this call started tonight. If you're here in Zoom with us, let us know your name and where you're from in the chat. Also, help us build this call by sharing the link on your own Facebook and Twitter. The links are getting dropped in the chat now, and I would like to welcome some folks here in the Zoom room. We've got Patty from Las Vegas, and we've got Hal from Maryland. Good to see you guys. For folks calling in on the phones or watching live on social media, we're dropping the link in our streams right now for you to hop over to Zoom for a more interactive experience. Go to ourrev.us/Zoom. For those of you in Zoom, again, tell us where you're from. We've got Catherine from Tucson. We've got Carmen Yulin Cruz in Massachusetts. Alexa from Milwaukee. David Legrand in Howard County, Maryland. Deb from Vermont. Someone from Indiana. Hello, everybody, and thank you for being with us tonight. Again, my name's Amanda Nichols. I'm glad you're joining this very exciting call. Pretty soon, we'll be talking with U.S. Rep. Rashida Tlaib. She's going to have a conversation on how we can fight the right wing of both parties standing in the way of progress. Then we'll talk with San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin. He's an incredible criminal justice reformer, and he's facing a ridiculous far-right recall attempt. And then Vincent Ford will be with us to talk about his run for Congress in Georgia 13. And Erin Palmer will talk about her run for DC Council Chairwoman. All right, so now this is a special night tonight. Right after the broadcast, make sure you stick on the line because people are going to be jumping into action for a phone bank for Amy Villela. She's one of our fiercest fighters for Medicare for All, and she's running for Congress in Nevada's 1st District. Our direct organizing and voter outreach is what gives our candidates a competitive edge against the corporate-funded politicians who are running to maintain the status quo. We are counting on our grassroots army to fight back against the big money, and you can help by joining our phone bank force. We need as many volunteers as we can get to put up a big fight against the big money. The link to do that in the phone bank force is being dropped in the chat right now. And we want to thank everybody for getting involved. Thank you for spending your Monday night here with us. These organizing calls are when our movement gathers together to strategize and advance our progressive mission. Our revolution is powered entirely by the grassroots. So if you're not a member yet, please take a moment now while the call is building and sign up at the link. We're dropping it in the chat right now. That's ourrev.us/2022 member. At higher membership levels, you can get stickers, posters, tote bags, t-shirts, just as a way of thanks for supporting our critical work here at Our Revolution. If you're on the phones, press *3 and an operator will help you quickly sign up as a member. And right now, as we're counting down to 8:30 p.m. Eastern, there are thousands of people on the phones. Please take a second and just hop over to our Zoom, be part of the action, interact with our guests in the chat. Just go to ourrev.us/Zoom. And if you're already in the Zoom, we're dropping a link in the chat right now for the latest edition of the Revolution Report. We pack a ton of news into this newsletter every week, so please do not forget to check it out, share it around, keep everybody informed. The link for the Revolution Report is being dropped right now. And with that, let me read a couple more names. We've got Pete, we've got Michigan in the house. Oh my goodness. People from South Carolina, Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, Rita in DC, Liz Walsh. Lot of folks jumping on the call. We really appreciate you coming here with us tonight. And I'm going to hand it over to our Revolution Field Director, Mike Olis. Mike.
Thank you, Amanda. It's awesome. Amanda's our lead writer at Our Revolution, and thank you for opening this up tonight. And our pre call as we waited for our phone call town hall to build up. So again, everybody, welcome to Our Revolution. Every other Monday night we have this call, and we're joined by thousands of people online, hundreds of people in our Zoom room, thousands of people on the telephone using our teletown hall service. So this is a massive call we do twice a month about, and thank you so much for joining us and being part of Our Revolution Nation. Again, my name is Mike Golis. I'm the National Field Director of Our Revolution. I'm based in Indianapolis, Indiana. That being said, let's get this call started. One other note, though, is that tonight, after this call wraps up, so we'll wrap up at 8:30 or 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. We will then make phone calls. So if you can, stay with us. We're going to make phone calls to Las Vegas tonight for Amy Villela. You can join our phone bank force. Basically, every night between now and probably September, we're going to be phone calling every night to elect progressive champions to office. So we got a lot of work to do tonight, tomorrow, the weeks ahead, but it is going to be critical that progressives go out and organize. You know, that's why we gather, so we can build an army, go out, have some fun together, and win some very tough races. In just a moment, we're going to be joined by Rashida Tlaib, the Congresswoman from Michigan. She's going to give us an update about what's going on in Congress and what we can do to go out and defeat the far right. So we got to take on two far rights: the far right in the Democratic Party, which is holding us back, which is holding back the Biden agenda and the Democratic agenda, and then we got to go out and take on and defeat the far right in our country, right? The far right, the Republicans, the Trumpsters, the people that are really causing a lot of harm. We'll be talking with Rashida Talib about debt cancellation, student debt cancellation, the future of Roe versus Wade, and what we can do together to help her get reelected here later this summer. Our closing guest tonight is also an amazing progressive, Chesa Boudin. He is one of the best and most progressive prosecutors in the country. He's the district attorney of San Francisco. But if you've been following California politics right now, the ultra wealthy and the police unions and the Republicans are gaining up together to try and take out progressives. California's on the verge of a progressive takeover, up and down the ballot, up and down the coast. But the big money and the police unions, they don't want us to win, right? They want to make sure that we don't have people like Chesa Boudin running for office. And so they funded a recall campaign to try and get him out of office. So he is on the ballot, even though he's not up for re-election. He's on the ballot. But we're going to be talking to Chesa about what we can do to defeat this recall, this right-wing, ultra-wealthy recall. And we'll be hearing from him about 9:15 Eastern, 6:15 Pacific. Tonight, we're going to hear from two other candidates for office. Vincent Ford is running against a blue dog Democrat, a conservative Democrat in a very progressive part of the country, the Atlanta suburbs on the south side of Atlanta. So Vincent Ford is joining us tonight to talk about his run for office. And then we're going to hear from Erin Palmer, who's running a very exciting campaign to become the DC Council Chairwoman. This is a district-wide, all of DC election. Erin Palmer wins this. It's a huge progressive victory in DC against the gentrifiers and against her opponent, who's supported by basically gambling money. So that is our call tonight. And after the call wraps up again, we're going to be out phone calling to Las Vegas for Amy Villela, one of the strongest fighters for Medicare for All in the country. She's running for the 1st Nevada district in Congress. She is taking on an incumbent Democrat. She wants representation that represents everybody, not just the old style Democrats. She was in the documentary Knock Down the House. So I don't know if everybody's seen that yet. It's on Netflix, I think, still. Her co-stars in that movie were Cori Bush, now in Congress, and AOC, in Congress even a little bit longer. So let's send a third person from that documentary, Knocking Down the House, Amy Villela, the Congress. That primary is in June. But we got to get the vote out here starting soon, getting people know that there's an important race in Las Vegas. Amy, after losing her daughter died basically because of the greed of her healthcare system, or a broken healthcare system. Amy made Medicare for All her life mission. So let's put her in Congress. Let's make phone calls tonight. There's a link being dropped. We're going to be making phone calls all night tonight. It seems like all night tonight, but every night going forward between now and probably now in November, right? We're going to be making phone calls. So please join our phone bank force, join our volunteer team. We got to go out and make the calls, flip the voters, get the progressive base out to vote. We can win some tough elections. Let's go now quickly to the front line of our work. Let's go to the front lines of the political revolution. First of all, let's talk about the fight to preserve abortion rights in the United States of America. The far right is laser focused right now on ending abortion in America. And our revolution is on the front line to stop this from happening. It would be a disaster for public health, for women's health, for our society. So we are on the front lines fighting to defend Roe versus Wade. And we'll hear from Anna Martovishki, our organizer, more tonight about that fight and what we can do to create action from across the country. And let's think about this. This is how screwed up things. Our progressive movement is fighting to elect Jessica Cisneros in South Texas to Congress. The runoff is here in a couple weeks, I think 25 days out. She is an amazing champion for healthcare rights, for abortion rights, for the PRO Act. She's an amazing progressive champion. Her opponent is an incumbent Democratic congressman, and he's like all those things: abortion rights, worker rights. He sucks, and Pelosi and Clyburn are standing up for him instead of Jessica Cisneros. Also, Cuellar is under FBI investigation. What are Pelosi and Clyburn thinking? Want to give out just another big boo and a big hiss to other terrible Democrats, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. We spent all last year fighting these two, and now they are protecting the filibuster over protecting women's health and abortion rights. We've been in the fight to reform the filibuster since day one. Manchin and Sinema are not even going to allow the fight. They're going to try to not let the fight go forward on the fight to save Roe versus Wade. And again, we'll hear from Anna Marta here just shortly in just several minutes about what we're doing at our revolution to build distributed action across the country. Want to talk about the labor movement real quick? It was May 1st, and our revolution joined AOC and labor unions in New York. We rallied with domestic workers in Princeton, New Jersey, fighting for workplace justice and immigration reform. On Thursday, in the U.S. Senate, Budget Chairman, our hero, our founder, Bernie Sanders, welcomed Amazon Labor Union President Chris Smalls to the Senate to testify about his experience beating the trillion-dollar corporation and their shady union-busting tactics. Bernie reaffirmed our call for President Biden to issue an executive order barring federal contracts and corporate welfare for union busters. President Biden, with a stroke of a pen, can make sure Amazon gets no federal dollars because of its union busting tactics, right? It's that simple. And this is what Chris Smalls had to say to the United States Senate. The things Amazon does, breaking the law, intimidation, these are real things that traumatize workers. We need to pass the PRO Act so workers are encouraged to organize. And if that doesn't work, Chris said, I'm here to let you know, on behalf of hundreds of thousands of workers, we are going to keep on organizing across this country. That is what Chris Smalls is about. He's actually been on our call a few years ago. And right before Christmas 2021, our revolution, we did a national tour. We took a pickup truck filled with pissed off workers, started in Phoenix, Arizona at Kyrsten Sinema's office, drove it to Henry Cuellar's office in San Antonio, drove it up to Milwaukee to go after Ron Johnson, the senator in Wisconsin, and drove it to Chuck Schumer's office in New York City. Our revolution is on the forefront of worker rights. We are going to do whatever it takes to get worker rights in this country and rebuild this labor movement. Let's go to elections. Progressives are under attack, and we are on the attack. Nina Turner, let's give a shout out to Nina Turner. We love you, and we know you will keep fighting for us. And also, we will keep fighting for you every step of the way. Our field and phone operation was strong in Ohio. There's no doubt about it. We made tens of thousands of calls, knocked on doors, But look, the billionaires and the corporate Democrats and the Republicans, they want us to take this loss. They want us to give up. They want us to say, no, what? It's not worth it. We can't compete with the big money. We can't compete with their lies on TV. But I think Senator Turner said it best on election night. It's time to take the gloves all the way off and decide we are not going to take it anymore. Let's make one thing clear. The corporate and right-wing money machine is targeting our candidates at every degree in and about every race. Look, we're going to be joined by Rashida Tlaib just here in a second. She shows us that we can defeat these forces. And we still can win and win a lot of races, but we just cannot give up. So a quick story. In Indianapolis, Indiana, where I'm from, our revolution, we endorsed Annette Johnson, who ran for the trustee of Pike Township. Pike Township is about 90,000 people. It is one of the most diverse communities in the country, about 50% African American. Annette Johnson beat the party establishment 4 years ago. They never forgave her. She came back this year, had our revolution support, and guess what? She crushed the party establishment. She got nearly 60% against the party establishment and their joke of a campaign. So look, we can win tough races. We can win local races. We can win congressional races. Annette Johnson won so big that it was front page news today that she helped end one of the dirtiest tactics by this Democratic Party establishment here in Indianapolis with their fake endorsement process. So look, we can win tough races, but we cannot give up. That is the work of our revolution. We cannot give up. We're going to have some losses. We're going to have a lot of wins, but our movement will always keep on growing. We're going to go stronger and stronger and stronger, and we're going to build power inside the halls of power and outside the halls of power. And that brings us to our first guest tonight, Rashida Tlaib, the Congresswoman from Michigan. I've marched with her on the outsides of power, in the streets of Detroit, fighting against GM layoffs and for a Green New Deal. And now Rashida Tlaib is up for re-election for her third term, and we are endorsing Representative Talib for re-election. So welcome, Representative Congresswoman Rashida Talib. How's it going tonight in Michigan?
Good, Mike. Hi, family. How are you? It's good. It's getting warmer and great time to be canvassing. So good evening to everyone, Mike and all of the Our Revolution team, and everyone that is continuing supporting people like me and running and being in Congress and all levels of government. I want to stress to all of you what many of us are facing today, what many of our neighbors are facing. All of it is calling us for bold action. I know many folks through the chat have been talking about the so-called draft opinion overturning Roe versus Wade. All that shows us that not only is the access to safe and legal abortion under attack, but also that the very fabric of our right to reproductive freedom and privacy could be pulled from under us. All of us know that this means that every single elected official that stands for reproductive freedom, for the right to privacy, for the freedom to love and marry who they want, everyone who says that they are with those folks should be fighting back again with bold action. I know in my district, I represent the third poorest congressional district in the country. I know that our frontline communities are going to be impacted the most. These are not folks that have the money or resources to be flying everywhere, as many of the folks that probably sitting there hypocritically standing in a certain position will have access because of, as you know, the economic divide contributes to that. What we know is the other side is doing and will continue to do, as you all know. They will not stop until they take our freedoms away, our rights away, and continue to bring about fascism that we saw on January 6th and beyond. I know that you all are the choir. I just want to remind you all, I won in 2018 by only 900 votes. That's it, 900 votes. Why? Because many of the folks in the establishment were trying to take us down. But what we did is focus on grassroots organizing like this. Grassroots, door to door, direct human contact, and really outworking what I call outworking the hate, outworking the misleading information, the gaslighting that they do to many of our neighbors. And I showed all of us together, we showed them what was possible. You all know that I'm a strong proponent of canceling student loan or education debt. I am a person of one of maybe only around 60 or so that doesn't take corporate PAC money, that I feel like is tainting our democracy and really diluting our voices in the halls of Congress. And I know, and alone in my state of Michigan, right now, talking to many of my families through town halls and community conversations, that it's not just only education loan debt, which right now in Michigan is the average about $36,000 of education debt, but it's also the fact that it is so difficult to thrive in our country. And I'm a person that believes that we're not just to survive in our country, again, the most, wealthiest in the nation, in the country, in the world, in the world, but the fact that we cannot thrive, we cannot have a good quality of life. We must not only cancel education debt, but uplift children out of poverty. My End Childhood Poverty Act, many of the organizations are supportive of, is a form of universal basic income, universal income for our children. Point of their birth, they would be enrolled into a system where they get $393 per month. It would elevate children in poverty by 64%. That would be transformative. That's the kind of bold action that we need to fight back. I know that you all are energized. We are always very reactionary in regards to when they come after us. But I want you to know, if it's not just that opinion, it's also through the fact that you all saw over and over again the big pharma, the folks that have been from the big banks and others that have really held our families back. And it's that corporate greed that in many ways is killing our people, many of which, again, because of environmental racism, because the fossil fuel industry have, pre-existing conditions. And these are communities of color who are dying at a higher rate of COVID because of those pre-existing conditions. We have to understand that pain on the ground is what needs to drive us to continue to fight. We cannot continue to, be able to be reactionary in regards to some of the things that the establishment has created, but outwork the hate and go out there and talk to the people, because they rely on, a number of, maybe ads and lawn signs and all these other things that really do not vote. What will get Jessica and so many others elected is that direct voter contact, that neighbor to neighbor connection. That's what got me elected and made history in becoming one of the first Muslim women ever elected, as well as the first Palestinian American woman elected. You will always have a partner and a fighter in me in the United States Congress. They are still coming after myself and many of my sisters in service because we haven't changed and we're not going to sell out. We won't do it. They're trying to beat it out of us and we're not going to budge. So thank you, Our Revolution. Thank you for all of you to be on this call. You are making a tremendous difference in making sure that, again, people like us, ordinary folks, are getting elected. Too many of my colleagues are in an income class that is so disconnected with our neighbors struggling. And again, we need to be able to thrive, not just survive in our country. Thank you so much, Mike. And again, thank you all for your incredible work.
Great. Congresswoman, do you have time for a couple questions?
Sure.
Great. I guess one question is, what is the road ahead in Congress with the Roe versus Wade and making it codified law instead of relying on the Supreme Court?
Yeah, some of you might already know, because of leadership from Barbara Lee and many other members of Congress, we already knew that we needed to codify, because right now our access to reproductive rights, abortion care, is through case law. We should be able to go ahead and codify and make it the law of the land, right? And not through case law and not allowing them to overturn it. So in the House, we overwhelmingly passed, we were able to codify Roe versus Wade. And that bill, unfortunately, is sitting in the Senate right now. And so that you'll see many of us are saying abolish the filibuster, take it up for a vote, including Senator Sanders and others who are demanding that the bill that we passed out of the House be taken up for a vote in the Senate. So I need your all's help to give credibility, because I want you to know, they want to listen to polling when it's convenient, but polling when it's with us, like the overwhelming support for access to abortion care is widely popular across our nation. And so it is that leads us to understanding the movement on the ground is real, and we can get folks to help us in understanding, again, and particularly this issue will motivate folks to really get involved, but also, pushing the Senate and putting the pressure on the Senate to get it codified.
And another question I'm seeing is that, back in your district with your election coming up, primary day is August 2nd.
Yes.
Early voting doesn't start. Starts pretty soon actually.
End of June. Yeah.
What kind of forces are you facing in your reelection, and how can we throw down and help?
Yeah, Mike, it's really important for you all to know it's not just about my opponents, it's also the dark money that's coming in. The sexy little committees that they put together with the word progress in it that really misleads a lot of my residents. 40% of my district is new to me because of redistricting. And so, they're going to rely on, I saw Mike, some push poll that is lying and saying I voted against the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. That's how ugly it's going to get. And of course, I'm going to outwork it and go tell the truth and making sure folks know that this is complete lies. But we know positions on Green New Deal, Medicare for all, even my issues around making sure that care comes before criminalization, that we're really taking care of our community with wraparound services and really taking care of and investing in our communities first. I want you all to know they're coming after, my stance on various issues, but it's all going to be done through this dark money that will come flooding in. I already heard from a number of sources that I'm one of the targets, of course, because I speak truth to power. And again, I haven't sold out. I refuse to. And so when they can't control you and the movement that is really behind getting somebody like me elected, they try to do everything possibly, accessible to them to get money to come out and send these mailers out, do these push polls, run the ads that again, reinforce that they like the status quo, because we all know, we all know they profit off of our broken systems. They want the status quo to continue because they continue to profit and they continue to thrive while our residents continue to struggle. And, again, I think it's completely unfair. We need to get Congress to be made up of working class folks and working people and people with lived experiences. And so that's why it's really important.
And thank you, Congresswoman. I think just one more question, if that's okay. And I think it's, let's go back to student debt cancellation. This is, we have a very tough election coming up in November for Congress. I have a daughter who's in 7th grade, and she was saying that, what's Biden going to do to win the youth vote? She can't even vote yet, And so what has to happen here in the next couple weeks and months so that the youth turn out, young people turn out, working class people turn out, so that we hold on to Congress and don't give it back to the Republicans and the far right.
Yeah, I want you to know the dismissiveness of not understanding how critically important it is to engage someone like my son, who's going to be 17 this year, and he'll be 18 in the next presidential election. He is already looking to President Biden, answers to a number of issues, including my son is like the expert on the climate crisis and reminds me constantly, we got no time, that we need to move with urgency. What I hear from young people, again, these are folks that have gone through, a recession, through a pandemic, and through a lot of struggles. And what they see is, people like them are going to have a very hard time to build, a life in our country that is of quality, that has human dignity. And they see that those that are wealthy, and over and over again, they're seeing it, are getting wealthier while the suffering continues. And so I think it's important to listen to them. They want urgency. They don't want these trinkets. They don't want us to hesitate in doing what is important to really create a future for them. My son continues to say, who can I turn to, Mom, that will have my back? And if he's asking that, then it is a big problem. He's not shy in being critical of all, established parties and others that he feels like hasn't actually moved with the need on the ground. We can be for labor rights, but then we don't pass amendments that say, hey, for this money to happen, then we need to incentivize and give to those that already have union shops, or prevent those, again, I saw this recently happen in the Senate. We got to be standing up to the corporate greed and to corporations and others and those elites in our country that, again, continue to profit and allow, a future for my son and really the young group, Mike, your daughter, my son, all of us. They're looking and seeing that it's going to be very difficult, and it's, for them, it's unfair. Like, who speaks for them, who hears them and sees them?
absolutely. And I'm just amazed my daughters, like your son is so, I wish I was that smart when I was that young, like your son and my daughter.
Can't stress to you all
these young
enough.
kids, they're going to save us, but we got to make sure they have an earth to get to them.
So much. They know so much. It's great.
And Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know your schedule must be intense, and this is going to be wild in the next couple months. So thank you so much. We're going to have your back. We're going to make sure Michigan stays blue and progressive blue as we can get it. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Awesome. And I got to give a shout out. Representative Talib and I are both born on July 24th. So I always think that's awesome. So I want now to just to transition. We talked about building a progressive Congress. Now I want to go down to Georgia. We are going to be now joined by Vincent Ford. He just got endorsed by Bernie Sanders. He is in the upcoming primary, which is going to be here very soon. Is going to go for taking on a blue dog Democrat in Georgia's 13th district. Vincent Ford is a member of our revolution. Bernie has endorsed him. And we don't like blue dogs. We don't like Democrats who don't stand for our values and progressive values. And, that's what Vincent Ford is up against. So, Vincent Ford, welcome tonight. How's it going in Atlanta or the Atlanta suburbs?
It's going great. It's going great. It's good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
And Vincent Ford, tell us a little bit about yourself, your district, and, we'll talk about your opponent here in a second, but just clue us into, what's at stake in this election in 2022?
Well, I am a former state senator, served 21 years in the state Senate here in Georgia, passed the state's first hate crimes law, as well as the strongest anti-predatory lending law in the country. I rose to be the number 2 person in the Senate Democratic Caucus as the Democratic whip, carrying the progressive banner, not just at the state capitol, but throughout the state. I'm trained as a teacher, but first and foremost, I'm an activist. My activism informs my legislative approach, as well as what I do in the classroom. So I wear those 3 hats. This district is 80% Democratic. It's 65% African American, and it is probably the most progressive district that is represented by a conservative Democrat. It's represented by a corrupt conservative Democrat who was designated by respected watchdog organization as one of the 25 most corrupt Congress members in America. You have to work hard to get that designation. And he has been absent from the district for several years. People haven't seen him. This is pre-pandemic. He's been kind of absent from his district. He stays away from his constituents like the plague. And for what we understand, he is in a condition where he's not able to fulfill the duties of his office. So it's a progressive district. I'm running as a progressive, and it's time for a change in the Deep South. I'll just finish answering the question by saying this. If we can elect a progressive Democrat in the 13th district in Georgia, in the Deep South, it will strengthen the progressive movement throughout this country. If we could get rid of this blue dog Democrat and elect a progressive like myself, it will send shockwaves throughout this country. And that's what we're going to do on May 24th during the primary election. Early voting started on May 2nd, and the election is on May 24th, and we plan on kicking this blue dog out of office.
And Vincent, so I've knocked doors in your district down in South Fulton. That's still part of the 13th district, is that right? The city of South Fulton?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I represented much of South Fulton when I was in the state Senate. But yeah, it's South Fulton and Clayton County.
We in the 2020 Senate races, our revolution had a major operation in South Fulton. We work closely with Mayor Khalid, the new mayor of South Fulton, and that was an awesome win in 2020. Georgia, Democrats flipped Georgia. How awesome is that in 2020? In 2022, we can make Georgia blue, a more progressive color of blue, right? We can turn Georgia more progressive by electing you in your office. What's it going to take to win this race? David Scott has been in office for a minute. He must have a lot of money in his pocket. What's it going to take for us to flip this progressive Democrat, for this progressive district to be represented by a progressive Democrat?
Well, it's going to take a field operation of the sort that our revolution is very familiar with. You just talked about it. We're going to have to get on the ground and get voters, educate voters as to who David Scott is and who I am and what I stand for. David Scott has just an abysmal record. He's a collaborator with payday lenders. I don't know if there's anybody worse than people who steal the paychecks of working folks.
Just sign yourself over to the devil at that point if you're working with payday lenders.
Yeah, exactly. He's someone who voted to allow car dealers to charge higher interest rates to African Americans. When we educate, and we've done some polling, when we educate the public on that kind of record, people run from David Scott in droves, and then they turn to our progressive, proactive kind of community-based politics. So if we, with our revolution and the other people who've endorsed me, if we're able to tell the story as to who he is and who I am, I have no doubt we'll be victorious come May 24th.
And Georgia has a runoff system, right? So,
yeah.
So do you think there'll be a runoff, or do you think, will you get 50%? Let's just go that,
I run to win outright, but, to be honest with you, if there's a runoff, we're going to be prepared for the runoff. I'm running. There are two other people in the race. David Scott only got 52%, 52.9% 2 years ago against underfunded candidates without a great deal of name recognition. So we think we have a formula to beat him, whether it's outright on May 24th or in a runoff 6 weeks later in June.
Great. Yeah, the new voters' suppression laws will kind of change some of the formula on the runoff. So 6 weeks after May 24th will be we're going to try to avoid it because we want you to win 50% plus one vote. But this is a race that can go a little bit longer in the overtime if need be. Yeah.
We're prepared to do whatever it takes to get to that 50% plus one.
So I also saw that you got the Killer Mike endorsement. Did I see that right on social media?
Yeah. Senator Sanders endorsed me, and then Killer Mike shortly thereafter. And our revolution, we've got a great team of folk working with us. Senator Sanders has been helping us and will continue to help us. So I was thrilled to get his endorsement as well as Killer Mike's endorsement.
And I think is Killer Mike from your district? Is he a 13th district native?
I believe Killer Mike in the last few years
or a lifetime resident maybe
moved into South Fulton. So
okay,
he is a constituent. He's going to be able to vote for me on May 24th.
That is awesome. So look, this is we gotta look. Our calendar's lining up. Next week, Kentucky and North Carolina vote. On the 24th, we have Georgia. So look, this is a lot of organizing needs to happen to flip this Congress, make it not just Democratic but progressive Democrat. And so a big challenge ahead, but we can win this race. And thank you so much tonight for joining us, Vincent Ford. Hopefully next time we talk, you're Congressperson-elect Vincent Ford. So cannot wait to keep
Can't
working
wait.
with you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. Good to be with y'all.
Awesome. So we're going Michigan to Georgia. Now we're gonna bring it back now to our nation's capital, and I'm gonna hand off the virtual mic to my colleague and co-organizer. We're gonna hear both from Hal Ginsberg and Anna Martovitsky here in a second. So Hal, let's go to the district.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Virtual Mike. And I'm so excited to welcome our next guest, Erin Palmer. Erin is running to be the DC Council Chairwoman. I am very, very pleased to announce our endorsement of Erin Palmer for that position, the second most important, the second most powerful job in the DC government, DC Council Chairwoman, and soon to be occupying that seat, Erin Palmer. Hey, Erin, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to see you. We talked before, but I think this is the first time we've done so in camera view of each other. And tell our viewers, tell our listeners, Erin, why you are running for Council Chairwoman and taking on a sort of entrenched incumbent.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. I'm running against a very long time incumbent who has been on the DC Council for over 20 years. And I'm running to bring some new energy and vision and ideas for good government and institutional accountability to the DC Council. I have a background in ethics and institutional accountability work, and I think it's very valuable to the position of Chairwoman, which is a position that sets a lot of the rules and practices for the council, which really impacts the laws that the council puts forward and the steps that it takes to support DC residents. So I'm very much interested in bringing some changes to the governance of the council.
Super exciting, Erin, and I have lived in this area for many years, and there are a lot of real challenges, and the council has often been an impediment to needed change. I know you and other great candidates like Zachary Parker will turn that around. I do want to ask folks, if you're in Zoom, type your questions in the Q&A for Erin, and if I can't ask her them, she can check them out and try to answer them in the Q&A. And if you're calling in, press *3 so an operator can pass them along. Erin, I was thinking of you when we heard from Representative Tlaib talking about how she doesn't take corporate money, you don't take corporate money. Tell us about that, the DC finance system, public financing, and your opponent's way of financing his campaign.
Sure, thank you for that question. Well, DC, like many local jurisdictions, has a public financing program that it instituted after Citizens United in response to the idea that corporations could be people, which is ludicrous, and keeping corporate money and dark money out of local politics. So DC put forward its own public financing law. It's something that took several years to work through the system. I advocated for passage of that law, and there was some built-in opposition to it with sitting council members and even the DC mayor, but it passed anyway, and it has proven successful. This is the second cycle, and there's been significantly more buy-in. So people who were previously opposed, like the mayor, are now participating in the program. And the lone incumbent holdout is my opponent in this race. And what's particularly interesting is you can see from the list of donations the difference that it makes. So my donors are largely government workers, teachers, friends, neighbors, residents. And my opponent has all of the kind of big developer, landlord. The host had mentioned sports betting, which is something that we had a terrible no-bid sports betting contract that went forward, and then lo and behold, who's donating to the current council chair. So these things are very tied, very related, and it does make a difference, the public financing program, and I'm proud to participate in it.
Yeah, and in fact, that sports gambling sole source contract that was pushed through by your incumbent, according to the city paper, resulted in significantly reduced revenues for the District of Columbia. Can you just talk about that briefly? And then I want to get to your priorities, Erin.
Yes, it was a terrible no-bid contract, which at just that alone is a red flag. The whole point is competitive bidding so that you get the best product possible. It was a no bid contract that was forced through. There was some vote trading in exchange for positions on council committees. And the revenue was promised for both violence interruption and early childhood education. And then lo and behold, it didn't deliver. And we've actually lost money on it, just as everyone expected. So it has really been very damaging, I think, to the credibility of the council, but also just a terrible outcome for everybody.
All right, so unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time, but I want to get to your priorities. I've been calling for you, Erin, and I hear from the folks I speak to over and over, housing. Where is Erin on housing? And when I tell them, they get very excited and they are right there in your corner. Why don't you tell us where you are on housing in DC?
Thank you. That's a very personal question. So I talk a lot about housing as a human right and about how it's a value statement, but it is rooted in personal experiences, in that I have a family member who died while homeless. So it's something that I think about very personally in terms of the idea that every person is entitled to safe, stable, and secure housing. Nobody should die on the street. We should work in every way possible to provide housing. And one of the things we have in DC is there's a lot of investment in something called the Housing Production Trust Fund, which is the primary affordable housing tool in the district. We put a lot of money into it, but it has never met its statutory obligation to provide deeply affordable housing. There have been audits and investigations, and it has never followed through on what it is actually supposed to do, yet we keep putting a lot of money into it. So one of the things that I think would be extremely helpful is more oversight of this Housing Production Trust Fund so that it actually delivers deeply affordable housing. And I saw someone in the chat mention public housing, which is another issue we face in terms of the maintenance and living conditions in public housing, which are truly terrible. And we have a lot of room to improve in terms of our sustained local funding for public housing, to improve the dignity of the people who are living in public housing.
That is really exciting, Erin. Again, we're really looking forward to your seat. You're taking your seat as the second most powerful person in DC government, as the DC Council Chairwoman. Before we let you go, if you can briefly tell us how your current position as Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner prepares you for this role.
Yes, well, advisory neighborhood commissioners are the very local, hyper-local elected officials in DC. There are about 400 of us citywide, so we represent a very small geographic area, a little neighborhood, I would say. And we're all volunteers, but one of the things that's been really informative is we deal a lot with day-to-day issues and government agencies. So I have a very intricate understanding of all of our government agencies and the ways in which they are or are not providing government services and can do better. And one of the things we've really worked on is building coalitions across advisory neighborhood commissions so that we're working as more of a citywide voice for the things that are needed across the city. And that's been very wonderful.
All right, our revolution is phone banking for Erin Palmer. Join our phone bank force. The link should have been in the chat. Hopefully it'll be again, so you can help call for great candidates, including Erin Palmer, including our Vincent Ford, and including Rashida Tlaib. Before we let you go, anything else besides phone banking for you, Erin, we should be doing for you to get you over the hump and seating you on the DC Council?
Thank you. Well, donations are always welcome. As a fair elections candidate, they're very meaningful. And if you live in DC, they are matched 5-1. But also just spreading the word and talking about local politics wherever you are. But if you're in DC, about what's going on at the DC Council and how we have a lot of room for improvement and space for new voices to bring good energy to the council.
All right, thank you so much, Erin Palmer, our Revolution's Choice in DC for DC Council Chairwoman. And you can hear and see what a great candidate she is on this visual. Let me now pass it on over to my colleague, Anna Martavishki, to tell us all how we can help our revolution defend reproductive rights. Anna Marta.
Thank you so much, Hal, and hi everyone. It's great to be with our Revolution community tonight. I think everyone on this call is aware that the right wing won't stop with banning abortion. We all know that more is coming. And our fundamental human rights, 100 years of social progress, LGBTQ rights, racial justice, and so much more is hanging in the balance. And one thing I believe Senate Democrats and our party leadership cannot say is that they're surprised, because we all knew that this is coming. That's why our revolution organizers were ready from the first moment the news broke. We organized all night Tuesday and all day Wednesday, and in a matter of 8 hours, we had 3 events set up here in New Jersey. We turned out hundreds on that day. More events are underway in New Jersey. Our New York teams have helped holding large events in New York City. We were among the first groups nationally to mobilize. We also partnered with important groups such as Planned Parenthood and Ultraviolet nationally to hold actions all across the country, because we really, really need to make sure that we make our voices heard at this time, and we need everyone to step up and take action. We want to make sure that these rallies weren't the last ones to take place. And that's why we are ramping up right now our events. We are launching tonight a Mobilize page where you can go and sign up to host your own rallies, your own demonstrations, whether you are part of a group or you're just a concerned individual who wants to take action. We are here to help you set up those events. There is going to be a link that's dropped in the chat. We can plan hundreds of rapid response events together. This is what we do, and we do it well. This is called distributed actions. We do one and we scale it up, and we are able to help you with everything you need. And again, it does not matter whether you are just one person standing in front of a courthouse or in front of your representative's office, preferably that's a senator, or whether you can turn out 5 or 10 or 50 or 100. Everyone matters right now, and everyone needs to be taken to the streets. Only together with a mass mobilization we can stop this. So again, go to the link that's dropped in the chat, sign up, let me know that you're interested. I'll be personally in touch with you, making sure that I assist you with everything you need. We have printable signs, we have graphics, we can help you with turnout. We can do a lot of things together. I can put you in touch with speakers, with other groups in your area. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're one person or you're part of a group. Sign up, and I'll be helping you getting your event off the ground. T-shirts, signs, everything. We are ready to assist. We just need you to make sure that we take this action nationally, really at a large scale. So sign up in the link in the chat. And thank you so much for everyone who has been out with us so far. We are looking forward to seeing you on the streets with all of these great signs in the next couple of days. May 14th, I want to flag that day because that's National Day of Action coming up in a couple of days. That is a good day for you to plan something. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of names coming through that form. And thanks again for everyone who mobilized at such a short notice for this super, super important action. And with that, I want to make sure you all stick around for a very important phone bank after this broadcast. So don't go anywhere. We are calling, as we mentioned at the beginning, for our endorsed candidate, Medicare for All champion Amy Villela, who is running for Congress in Nevada's 1st district. So stick around. Even if you have never made a call before with us, we are here to train you. There is going to be a fun training led by our political director, Erin, just right after this call. We are dropping the link in the chat for that as well, and sign up there. And with that, back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Anna Marta, and thank you, Hal. Hey, I just got a note saying not enough people have signed up to Phone Bank. So sign up and Phone Bank. It's fun. You'll get prizes if you keep phone banking with us. Our revolution nation, you know, we're going to win this on the streets, like with Anna Marta, our Shipping Action. We're going to win this on the phone. So please join our phone bank operations. We'll have a lot of fun, make a lot of voter contacts. We're calling other Our Revolution members. So these are good, positive calls you're going to have, and with a great team of phone bankers. So please sign up. We're waiting on Chesa Boudin. I think he might be with us, but not quite sure. Chesa, are you with us tonight? Chesa Boudin, the District Attorney of San Francisco. I'm seeing a mysterious guest profile pop up on our Zoom. Chesa, are you with us?
Hey, I'm here. How you all doing?
Hi, Chesa Boudin. Welcome to our call, the District Attorney of San Francisco. Ballots are dropping in the mail right now, right, for this upcoming June election?
As a matter of fact, they've already arrived. I've already seen my ballot in the mail. A lot of other people have seen theirs in the mail as well. And we know from the Department of Elections that some of the people have already returned their ballots. So this is effectively election day. We're already there. We are 28 days away from the last day to vote. And this is the time when we really need people to get involved. Phone bank, knock on doors, make sure that San Francisco voters know the facts, the basic facts of this election, like the fact that the Democratic Party and the ACLU and the Sierra Club and the Green Party, and of course our Revolution and the San Francisco Chronicle and so many more, our labor leaders and our labor council and our nurses and our teachers are all saying vote no on Proposition H, oppose the recall. The folks who support it, no surprise, Republican billionaires, the San Francisco Republican Party, and a few folks who tried to run against me in 2019 and didn't win, and they want to do the election all over again. So we really need to get the message out to voters, and we can use your help to do it. We are really proud of the record my office has in the last 2 years, responding to the pandemic, expanding victim services, increasing language access, creating a worker protection unit to prosecute companies that steal from their employees, holding police accountable when they use excessive force with first ever homicide charges against an on-duty police officer for shooting and killing an unarmed black man in San Francisco. So much work that we're proud of, ending cash bail, refusing to allow police to use the DNA of sexual assault survivors in unrelated cases. So much work that we need to keep doing. We need to continue expanding access to drug treatment and to diversion programs for people who are addicted and mentally ill. That's what's at stake in this race. And so we are urging voters to vote no on H, no on the death penalty, no on cash bail, no on wage theft, no on police violence and impunity, no on rolling back victim services, no on using survivors of sexual assault DNA against them, no on billionaires buying our elections, no on Proposition H.
And Chesa, so your ballots, people have gotten their ballots. Election day is a month out, so we have to spend the next 30 days making sure every progressive voter turns in their ballot and rejects this recall. I got a question. What did you do to make the police union so mad? And what did you do to make the billionaires so mad? And what did you do to make the corporate crooks so mad they're trying to, when you won back, your first election, that was one of the first great big victories for our revolution that year. And I just remember watching the results every day, watching your ranked choice voting come through. What did you do that just pissed these people off so much they want to spend millions of dollars and boycott the normal election route?
Well, I did exactly what I promised all of you I was going to do. All the things that I told our Revolution and Senator Sanders and so many other folks in San Francisco who voted for me and elected me, I promised to do 3 simple things. Fight to end mass incarceration. And we've closed the jail and we've reduced the number of kids in our juvenile detention by 70%. Doing that work, as promised. Second, I've committed to expand victim services. And sure enough, we've created 10 new victim advocate positions in my office. 8 of the people we hired are fully bilingual. We've increased the number of Chinese-speaking victim advocates by 500%. And we've expanded housing for domestic violence survivors. We've worked with small businesses to make sure that they get reimbursed if their stores get broken into or vandalized for out-of-pocket expenses. In other words, we're following through on the promises we made. And the third one, the most important one to answer your question, is I promised, and I think I just saw Emily write this in the chat, but I promised I was going to enforce the law equally, that we wouldn't have a system that only works, a system of so-called justice that only works for the wealthy and the well-connected, that we'd build a system that enforces laws equally. And the police unions and the billionaires in their boardrooms, they talk about accountability, but they're scared of being held accountable. They demand impunity for the laws they violate, even as they ask us to throw the book at poor people and people of color who get arrested for far less serious crimes. What we're doing is not simply relying on police to bring us cases, but we're suing manufacturers of guns that are used in crimes. We're suing companies that systematically misclassify their employees to avoid paying taxes at minimum wage. That kind of enforcement of the law is something that those in power are not used to and are very, very scared of.
Look, I've seen the elections in San Francisco this cycle. The billionaires are on the attack. Progressives are, look, they're under attack, right? Progressives in San Francisco are under attack. We had such big victories in San Francisco, and you helped lead that fight. What's it going to take to defeat this recall and end this madness? I mean, you've built an amazing coalition. You've held your promises. What do we got to do to win here? And the second question is, when we think about our big cities right now, affordable housing, homelessness, right? There's a crisis in our cities, and it's not because of progressives. It's because of the big money and the greedy developers and the greedy politicians, right? So, this is a wild moment when the people who are fighting the root causes are being attacked because the root cause, because we're going after the root causes. So, what's it going to take to win, and what's your message to the people who maybe aren't paying enough attention to what's going on?
No, that's exactly right, Mike. And the answer to those questions goes hand in hand. I mean, our strategy to win is field, right? This is not about me. This is about a national, grassroots, social movement demanding criminal justice reform. And my election in 2019 was part of that national movement. And so the way we win is not by outraising the opposition. It's not by spending more money on TV ads. It's by having more people, more volunteers show up and phone bank and text bank and go door to door. Last Saturday, we did 3 separate big volunteer mobilizations in different parts of the city. We're doing phone banking almost every single day. And the way we win is by communicating directly with voters. I've been spent a couple hours today calling undecided voters myself and just talking to people and asking them to look at the facts. And when we communicate what the facts are, when we show them that if you vote to support this recall, you're joining sides with the San Francisco Republican Party, with the billionaires, with Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Tom Cotton, and with Tucker Carlson and Fox News. People in San Francisco do not want to join sides with those folks. But we need to get the information out to people. We need to show them that our nurses and the ACLU and our teachers and our city college professors and our in-home healthcare workers and our janitors all oppose this recall. They're all saying he's doing what he promised. He's fighting to change the system. And the recall folks, as you said, Mike, they are taking the kinds of tragedies and the kinds of circumstances that are a regular feature of the failed tough on crime approach to criminal justice, and they're blaming those things on me as though they don't happen in Sacramento County or in Texas or in Oklahoma. We know that it's taken decades to build up a failed system of mass incarceration, and it's going to take a few years for us to build out the alternatives. I am really proud of the fact that we've dramatically increased the number of cases we send to diversion programs like Veterans Court, where veterans can get connected with the VA and get mental health care and job training. Like our drug court, where we ensure that people who are getting arrested because of addictions are getting treatment, not just cages. That's how we build safety in the long run. And that's the message that we've got to get to San Francisco voters. So they know what the facts are, and they know that they're on the right side of history. They're with the allies, and that everybody they trust, whether it be the San Francisco Chronicle or the Labor Council, whether it be the current or the former president of our Board of Supervisors, everybody that voters trust is saying vote no on Proposition H, oppose the recall.
Well, thank you so much, District Attorney Chesa Boudin. We have your back. We'll be out organizing and working with you, mobilizing our movement. Progressives can win tough races, and this is a tough race, but you showed us how to do it a couple of years ago, and we'll do it again. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch. And we're going to be out phone banking for all of our progressive candidates every night, every day this summer and spring. So thank you so much. Let's be in touch, and we got to wrap this call up because we're going to go hit the phone. So thank you.
Right on. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Great. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining our call now. I'm going to go ahead and just end this baby because let's kill the broadcast. Let's end this call, and let's start our phone bank operation. So let's take a 3-4 second